Good morning. Thank you for joining me in this morning mindfulness practice. I hope you're feeling wonderful, ready to take on the day. One of the most important things that Bob Proctor, my mentor, taught me was making a decision. He said that in any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing, the next best thing is the wrong thing, and the worst thing you can do is nothing. And in his book, The ABCs of Success, he writes about decision being personal power. I once heard it said that the world will forgive you if you make mistakes, but that life will not forgive you if you fail to make decisions. But it's rare that we're taught how to make decisions. The fear of making a decision is the result of fearing to make a mistake. And as Aldous Huxley once wrote, the fear of mistakes has a greater impact on you than actually making the mistake. This morning, let's start out with grabbing a notepad and write down 3 areas that affect your life every day. Number 1 is, where are you? Where you are in your life, and where you want to be. Number 2, where you want to be. And number 3, the steps needed to bridge the gap. Now, Bob Proctor taught me that if you're making a decision based on how you think you're going to be able to get to where you want to be, all the resources you need, and all the steps needed, that would be considered a B goal. He talks about ABC goals, and an A goal is something that you already know how to do. A B goal is something that you could figure out. I chatted with a woman yesterday who had bought several properties. So if she wants to buy another house or condo, that's an A goal. She wants to sell one of the properties and hasn't sold it yet. One's been on the market for 3 months and has not sold. So a B goal is for her something, how to figure out how to get that house sold. But a C goal is something that you really desire, but you don't even start most of the time because you can't figure out how it could possibly happen. Maybe taking a beautiful trip with your family and you don't have the money in the bank right now. So these are areas that affect you every day. Number 1, where you are. Number 2, where you want to be, where you really, really want to be. Let's make it something special, something beautiful, something that your heart desires. And in this ABCs of success, the 3rd step is the steps needed to bridge the gap. Bob says this process will put you face to face with decisions you must make. As with every decision, there is the worst that could happen to you and the best that could happen to you. Maybe you want to divide your paper in half and write down on one side, ask yourself what you would do if the worst happened. And then on the other side of the page, think of how much more beautiful life will be when the best happens. What's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen? And how would life be different if the best really was your life. He says this method is by no means eliminating the risk and that you must take, but it does generate a more prepared mind and a more productive attitude for action. It also helps you become aware of some of the obstacles you must overcome. A study made of the lives of thousands of highly successful people showed that they all made decisions quickly and changed them very slowly, if and when they changed them at all. Your personal power is moved into action by decision. Epictetus said the materials of action are variable, but the use we make of them should be constant. Now, there is a single mental move you can make, which in a millisecond will solve enormous problems for you. It has the potential to improve almost any personal or business situation you will ever encounter, and it could literally propel you down the path to incredible success. This magic mental activity is called decision. Decisions, or the lack of them, are responsible for the making or breaking of many careers. Individuals who have become very proficient at making decisions without being influenced by the opinions of other people are the same people whose annual incomes fall into the 6 and 7 figure category. However, it's not just your income that is affected by decisions. Your whole life is dominated by this power. The health of your mind, the health of your body, the well-being of your family, your social life, the type of relationships you develop, they're all dependent upon your ability to make sound decisions. You would think anything that as important as decision making, when it has such far-reaching power, would be taught in every school, but it's not. To compound the problem, not only is decision making missing from the curriculum of our educational institutions, up until recently, it also has been absent from most corporate training and human resource programs. So, how is a person expected to develop this mental activity? Quite simply, you must do it on your own, but it's important to remember, it's important to understand it's not difficult to learn how to make wise decisions. Armed with the proper information and by subjecting yourself to certain disciplines, you can become a very effective decision maker. You can virtually eliminate conflict and confusion in your life by becoming proficient at making decisions. Decision making brings order to your mind. And of course, this order is then reflected in your results or your objective world, the world around you, what shows up for you in your life. I used to not make decisions very easily because I would weigh all the pros and cons, and I would think I was being very responsible. What if this happened? What if that happened? Always had a plan B. What if, what if, what if? But a person who fails to develop their ability to make decisions, Bob Proctor says they're doomed, because indecision sets up internal conflicts that can, without warning, escalate into all-out mental and emotional wars. Psychiatrists have described these internal wars as ambivalence. Ambivalence is the coexistence in one person of the opposite feelings toward the same objective. You don't require a doctorate degree in psychiatry to understand that you're going to have difficulty in your life by permitting your mind to remain in an ambivalent state for any period of time. This leads to procrastination. The person who does permit ambivalence to exist starts to become despondent and virtually incapable of any type of productive activity. It's obvious that anyone who finds themselves in such a mental state is not living. At best, they're merely existing. A decision or a series of decisions would change everything. A very basic law of the universe is to create or disintegrate. Indecision causes disintegration. How often have you heard a person say, I don't know what to do? How often have you heard yourself say, what should I do? Think about some of the indecisive feelings you and virtually everyone on the planet experience from time to time. Love them or leave them. Stay or quit. Do it, don't do it. Buy it, don't buy it. Say it, don't say it. Tell them, don't tell them. Everyone on occasion has experienced these feelings of ambivalence. If it happens to you frequently, decide right now to stop it. The cause of ambivalence is indecision, but we must keep in mind that the truth is not always in the appearance of things. Indecision is actually a secondary cause. It's not the primary cause. Decades of studying the behavior of people who have become very proficient at making decisions has shown they all have one thing in common: a very strong self-image, a high degree of self-esteem. They might be completely different in numerous other aspects, but they possess confidence. Low self-esteem or lack of confidence is the real culprit here. Decision makers are not afraid of making a mistake. If and when they make an error in their decision or they fail at something, they have the ability to shrug it off. They learn from the experience, but they never submit to their failure. They don't beat themselves up over making a mistake. They just decide on something else. Decide right where you are with whatever you've got. What do you really, really, really want? Once you make a decision, you will find all the people, resources, and ideas that you need every time. Whether you want something or not is the only consideration. I remember hearing people tell Bob Proctor that they would love to buy a new house or go on a trip or start a business or invest in their education, but they didn't have the money. He would say, you don't need the money. You haven't made the decision yet. When you make the decision is when the money shows up. When you decide that's what I'm going to do, the people, the resources, the ideas show up every time, but it has to be something you really want. Whether you want to or not is the only consideration. Whatever you need to achieve your goal, you will attract it to you. No, there's lots of people who say that's absurd. You can't just decide to do something if you don't have the necessary resources. We were programmed to think that way. We were programmed in a limited way of thinking. And that's not really thinking at all. It's just expressing an opinion that was inherited, usually from an older family member. Thinking is very important. Decision makers are great thinkers. Do you ever give much consideration to your thoughts? How they affect the various aspects of your life? We think, or we have 60 to 90,000 thoughts a day running through our head, but most of it is mindless chatter. Most of it is on repeat. Most of what we call our thoughts is just mental chatter. Anyone who has made a study of the great thinkers, the great decision makers, the achievers of history will know that they rarely agreed on anything when it came to the study of human life. However, there was one point on which they were all in complete and unanimous agreement, and it was we become what we think about. Do you ever give much consideration to how your thoughts affect the various aspects of your life? This should be one of the most serious considerations, but for most people, it's not. What do you think about? We all must realize that our thoughts ultimately control every decision that we make. You are the sum total of your thoughts. By taking charge this very minute, you can guarantee yourself a good day. You can decide. You can refuse to let any unhappy, negative people or circumstances affect you. The greatest stumbling block you'll encounter when making important decisions in your life is circumstance. We let circumstance get us off the hook when we should be giving it everything we've got. Bob Proctor says more dreams are shattered and goals lost because of circumstance. How often have you caught yourself saying, I would like to do this or have that, but I can't because? Whatever follows because is the circumstance. Circumstances may cause a detour in your life, but you should never permit them to stop you from making important decisions. Napoleon said, circumstances, I make them. You know, when you have something on your mind, something in your heart, a deep desire to do or be or have something different than what you're experiencing, and you say, damn the circumstances, I'm doing this, I'm going after it, I will do this, this I will do. You make a decision, the universe conspires to help you, to do the heavy lifting, to bring together all the pieces of the puzzle in order to make your dream come true. But you must be a cooperative component. You must decide every day, this is what I'm going after, even if it looks like nothing's changing, nothing's moving. If you really want something and you get into that energetic vibration of what it feels like to be there, and you might say, well, how do I know what it's going to be like? I've never been there before. I've never had $1 million in the bank. I don't have the loving relationship that I want. Look at my body. It's too big, too lumpy. I want to be healthy, fit, active, strong. I want to be loved. I want more money than I know what to do with. Well, if that's what you really want, decide. Write it down at the top of the page and make it a goal. Where are you now? And where do you want to be? You don't have to worry about how to fill in the gaps. You just have to start thinking at the same frequency of your goal already accomplished, your wish fulfilled. How would you be feeling? You would be happier, healthier, wealthier. You know why you want the goal. What would it feel like to already be there? When you make a decision in advance and you give yourself a command, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing, this is what I want more than anything. Think of how much more life you would enjoy by making that decision that you're no longer going to participate in any type of negative behavior, negative energy. Make a decision that you're going to give up the lower energetic feelings, the lower energetic actions. Don't worry about failing. Winning is a decision. Bob Proctor says when a person has no vision of a better way of life, they automatically shut themselves in a prison. They limit themselves to a life without hope. This happens when a person has tried on a number of occasions to win, but keeps failing. Repeated failures can damage a person's self-image, but they end up making a decision to give up and they resign themselves to settling. But it takes building a picture in your mind of exactly how you would like to live. Make a firm decision to hold on to that vision, and positive ways to improve everything will begin to flow into your mind. You start to build a new image. Who are you now that that goal has manifested? Making a decision and to change something in your life, that takes stepping out of your comfort zone, thinking differently, behaving differently, focusing on what you truly desire as if it's now your life. What you focus on grows. So if you get into that feeling of the wish already fulfilled, you feel yourself feeling more empowered, feeling happier, feeling stronger, maybe sitting up a little straighter, knowing this is where I'm going. And as you sit quietly in that feeling as if your wish has already been granted, when you open your eyes, you'll be surprised that it's not here yet, because every cell of your being will be in harmony with this beautiful picture. Fill yourself up with that energy. Ask God, infinite intelligence, divine, for guidance for the day. Follow your inner guidance system. Don't be swayed by the opinions of others or outside circumstances. By making a simple decision, the greatest minds of all time are available to you. You can literally learn how to turn your wildest dreams into reality. Imagine yourself already doing what you want to do, already being the person who has attained the goal. How does that look? How does that feel? How happy and grateful would you be if that was true right now? Take the time to write it down. Bob Proctor would always suggest you start by writing, I am so happy and grateful now that, so that you could write your goal in the present tense using positive language, putting in some detail, but most importantly, feeling yourself already in that energy, how you would be feeling, why you want the goal, how beautiful life is now that. If you discipline yourself to do this on a daily basis, whatever dream you hold in your heart, whatever picture you really want to come true, will become your reality because everything starts in your mind. Make a decision, write it down, and decide that's where I'm going. Create a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me in this morning mindfulness practice. Enjoy your day, and I'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7. Thank you.